Oh wow, we've got some keen people.
Hello.
Hey Rael, you're good?
Yes.
Excellent. Look at this. The first time people showing up early. Right. Let me as well. We're going to go to. All right. Hang on 1 second, guys. All right. Can you still hear me over here? Okay. Perfect. Let me just set up on this side as well. And we're going to go and see if I can start this here. Okay.
Okay. Much better.
Right, let me put that on mute. Yeah, so here's me. Yeah. This is the camera from here, so you're a little dark.
That guy right there looks like Rob.
Yeah, that's my fault. Let me just put my on mute. Let me put on that. That's better. So we'll work with your audio feed. Guys, you still give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me okay. I'm going to ask you guys to mute yourself out because we've got some feedback here. So guys, if you're not muted, please mute. Let's have a look who these guys are mute. Roland, you're on mute. Or Roland, if you can take charge of muting. Renee, if you're able to mute, that's great. And then me up here. Now, what I might do, there you go, let me get rid of you. Perfect. And we are in. Who we got on? We've got 20 on so far. Perfect. Good stuff. Okay. Oh, Gosha's in as well. Good to see you, Gosha. Right. Okay, guys, we're good. Another minute or so before to let everybody log in. Boris, I'm just going to mute you if you don't mind.
No, I don't.
Perfect. Who else is? Okay, Rosemary's in. Everybody's in. Perfect. Great to see you guys. And hey, Jeff. Dave's in. Everybody's in. Look at this. Right. Okay. A few more dialing coming in now. Just to make sure. Gosha, if you can put yourself on mute, that'd be great. Marvelous. Look at this. Tech support. Okay, now you've got me on this one here. Because I say our camera's a little better. I'm struggling on the light here to be able to see George. This is our screen. Yeah. On here. So.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah. Hey, Adrian. Good to see you. All right. Yeah, I know the light's not good on there, Rosemary. Sorry. What I'm going to do is you're going to have two angles. You're going to be able to see George on this one as well. How's that? The two of us interacting. So pick your screen. There we go. You're in stereo vision. Right.
Where are we on that?
We're on this one here. Look.
Okay.
On there. As long as you're again, you look at either camera. Okay. How's everybody doing? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Everything's good. Marvelous. Well, in that case, make sure we are recording. Yes, we are. Let's throw a lead on this puppy and get started. Well, guys, it gives me a great pleasure. This is something that I've been thinking about and been wanting to do for a long time. Is actually introduce George to my audience rather than be a part of George's audience for as many years as I have, and that's been a complete pleasure and a gift. But when I had the opportunity to be able to spend some time with George at his home with him and his wife Eloise, and I mentioned I got the call coming up, and I kind of hinted a little bit if he'd be willing to share some of his wisdom with you guys. The guy's heart is all there. He said absolutely, and it's a pleasure for me to be able to really have this experience with you guys and share it with the people I care about. And I want to give you a little insight into the world that has shaped my world. And that's not something we get to do very often. So again, quite excited. So without further ado, I think the best thing to do, I think you've all seen the video that I shared with you that gave the backstory between how I met George. Everybody seen that? Yeah. And again, if you did fall off mute, guys, Jeff Dixon, there you go. Sorry, Jeff, let me just mute you on there. I will pull you in so we don't get some interference. Then you'll already understand the role that George has played in my life and the impact that he's had, shaping me as a young man and the psychology and and my ability to interact and see the world, and the impact that that's had as the ripples of contribution that have gone out and touched your lives and the people that you touch as well. So, like tracing the source of the Ganges back, it's nice to be able to bring back, because we all stand on the shoulders of giants, and the gentleman I'm about to introduce you to is a giant in many respects, whose shoulders I'm very privileged and humbled to be able to stand on. And so, George, why don't we start with giving some of the people a little bit of background as to you and how you got into the game and some of the things that shaped you in your early career, because that's always been fascinating to me when we speak to people about what's really been the wind that shaped the mold.
Well, I think that a lot of people that observe successful people, whatever criteria they measure that by, they think that they've had it kind of made, or there's something that they didn't have to go through in order to be where they're at. And I certainly have destroyed that illusion. I started out, we were not wealthy at all. In fact, we were poor. My dad was a factory worker. And shortly after I was born in New York, was 3 or 4 years later, I contracted polio. And I was in the hospital for about 3 or 4 months. I was in an iron lung. When I got released, the doctors told my mother, "You have your son, but he'll never walk again." Well, I knew then that things didn't look too good for me. But for some reason, I didn't have an acceptance. I had almost an anger, I guess, that, geez, what's going on here? And when I would go to walk, I looked like a Forrest Gump, and going to school, kids would laugh. And I had this enormous desire to play ball. I mean, my body was not matched at all with my spirit or my mind. It just wasn't connected. And I remember sitting on the curb. We played in the streets. We played baseball with a bat that should have been retired 10 years ago. A baseball that had so much tape on it that it was a shot put. But we were poor kids. That's all we had. And I remember sitting there wishing that somebody would get hurt so they'd have to pick me. So they never picked me. But I observed something that was really powerful for the rest of my life. We used to, in order to play the game, I don't know how you do it over there, but we used to throw a bat in the air. And then the 2 captains, one hand would go on the bat like this until they got to the top, and whoever was at the top got the first pick of the players that day. And there was only going to be 9 on each side. And there might be 50 street kids out there wanting to play. But I noticed something. These captains always seemed to pick the players in the order of their performance. So it had nothing to do with anything other than the kids deserve to win, they're competing, and the captains deserve to put the best out there. And that kind of hit me that if something was going to change for George, it had to be George. And I had barely anything going for me. Okay, and one day I'm sitting up on the 4th floor in a tenement house looking out the window at the kids playing. And my dad, the factory worker, came over and he saw me there looking pretty sad. And he said to me, "Son, what's going on?" I said, "Dad, I just want to be a champion." And I can imagine as I got older how that must have hit him. Here's my kid. He can hardly walk and he's talking about what? An illusionist. That's not what he did. He said, "Son, I never played much ball, but I can give you some advice." I said, "Yeah, whatever it is in life that you want to be good at, don't you ever ask someone who's not good at it how to do it." Whoa, that stuck with me from that day forward, because I saw a lot of people, get misled by the company they keep, the influences of mind, and they go down the trail of destruction and there's nobody there. But if you check this out in the beginning and say, do you really care? Are you really want to help? Are you an authority in what I'm looking for? And that's the way I searched my teachers, my professors, my research, the seminars I attended. I was always looking to be around people had more wisdom than me. When I address 20,000 people, I go on stage and I say, "How many of you have never heard me speak or train before?" All kind of hands go up. I say, well, your luck has run out because I'm not compromising a damn thing. You're going to get it. You can leave it. You can go home. You can say you like it or you don't like it, but that's not what I'm coming from. I'm coming from a lot of work with people, criminal justice system, individual counseling, running seminars, and I really have information that could transform your life. But I can't force it on you. And I want you to know, I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you love me. You know, I don't care about any of that. We'll end up wherever we end up. But I'm not compromising. So put your seatbelts on. We're going to work. You ought to see 20,000 people just stop in their tracks because everybody's playing around. Oh, well, maybe we should. No, we're screwed up. And until we get our heads right and our spirits right, we're going to continue to be screwed up. And all of you that are trying to help people, you need to know that if you're advanced students. I can remember one time I was traveling with a brilliant scientist, and I was doing the personal development psychology end, and he was doing a scientific talk. And I used to go on first, and then I would read his credits from stage about how brilliant he was and all the degrees he had. And I loved this guy. He didn't look like a genius at all. He was a big, portly Texas guy. His tie was always down about 3 lengths down where it belonged. But once he opened his mouth, forget about it. So I'm talking to introduce him, and I see him way in the back of the room, and he's not moving. So I come down off the stage, and I keep on singing his praises. I'm running out of things to say, and I tap him. I said, "Hey, Doc, come on, you're on." Oh, he gives it one of these numbers and wiggles and gets up in the front of the room, knocks it out of the park. So that night we used to go out after we did one of these shows and have some pizza and beer. So we're there, and I said, "Doc, I got a bone to pick with you, man." I said, "I was up there blowing my brains out, telling your credits, and you're sleeping in the back of the room." And he just started to chuckle. I said, "What's so funny?" He said, "Well, George," he said, "I never thought I'd have the opportunity to teach you something in your own discipline. But tonight I'm going." I said, "Well, have at it, Doc." He said, "What I've come to, and maybe you haven't yet, is that most of the people are asleep with their eyes wide open." I thought, whoo. So he was nailing it. You know, and I know if you've been in this work, that we have not been taught how to think properly. We just have not. We've been given the way to think, what we should think, how we should think, and even when we should think, and how we should speak. So you may never show up. Who you really are may never show up because we're so afraid of criticism. Someone else's opinion is running my life. You're never going to be content and happy as long as that's going on. You've got to let it be okay, whatever people think, but don't attach yourself to it. Find your own dignity, find your own power, and use it with discretion and love, and you'll get wherever you want to go. People always ask me about money, money, money. I got a lot of money, but I can tell you this right now, I never chased it. Never did I chase the money. You know what I teach about money? Find something that you can be good at and become the best at it, and money will follow you. Make a contribution. Well, it's a longer road. And in this world of overstimulation of wealth and things you think you need to identify yourself, it's hard to stay put and to keep on going. So that was an important lesson for me. Old Doc McAnally. Most people are asleep, George, with their eyes wide open. Get in conversations and you find it.
Yeah. And that sums up a couple of big points there, guys, that you've heard us me talk about for a while. One is what I call, the whole aspect of sleeping awake, because most people are. They're being ran by the patterns that have its genesis in the good opinion of other people.
Oh, yeah.
And so, authenticity is absent. And, when it comes to understanding personal power, being authentic is probably one of the strongest attributes you can bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And a lot of things that George has taught me over the years. But George, what are some of the other influences that you've had, or books that you've read, or some of the little things that you have helped to shape your philosophy on that?
I think that's a good question, because with all of us, there's a time, if we're searching, if we're knocking, and we're asking from a sincere heart, I will guarantee you answers will come. they will come. I remember years ago reading a book by Dr. Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning. I couldn't put it down. I said, isn't that all of us? We've been told from birth who we are, what we should believe, what religion we should have, but it's just been superimposed. So we don't know. I tell people, your religion won't work until you buy it 100% on your criteria. Then it'll work. People walking around saying they believe, and then you watch their lives. Saying they love, and you watch what they do to each other. Oh my goodness, I can't find anything authentic there. Can you? So find your own spirit, find your own mind. So that book there had a big influence on me, recognizing how deeply I was looking for that answer. Why are we here? What the heck is it all about? Who am I? Who's the I in me? Who's the I in you? Wow. When you discover it, you're going to be fine. And before I'm done, I'm going to tell you what I think it is. Fair enough? Okay. So I thought that. And then another influence for power, I tell people a discerning mind and spirit can read people just in a matter of seconds. They're happy, they're unhappy, they're honest, they're dishonest. And that goes with what I call discernment. And when I studied discernment, I kept wondering, what is this thing that's referred to as a gift? And I kept looking at it and looking at it. And then I realized the more I cleaned my own self up, the more discernment I got. So I said, wow, there's the connection. You need to clean your spirit up. And then you'll see things that you couldn't see before because your own garbage was in the way of your vision. So you work on you. Come from inside, manifestation outside. So I read a book by Dorothea Brand called Wake Up and Live. And she had one sentence in there that jumped off the page at me. And here's what she said. Act as though it were impossible to fail, and you won't. Think about that one sentence. How could someone who doesn't believe act as though it were impossible to fail? That's impossible. So it's tied directly to your belief, your faith, and your intent. So then you don't cower in the corner. You carry whatever you're doing in front of you. You don't run. Nobody can beat you but you. Nobody can take away anything from you without your permission. They say, oh, well, act as though it were impossible to fail. Now, you've all done seminars. You've been at seminars. And you probably have conducted seminars. If you really know what's going on, you can see people walk in the room and you know if there's a problem. Okay, there's someone I should probably give a little love to. There's somebody who looks like the world's falling down around them. And there's somebody that just lit the room up when they walked in. We all come in with an aura that's readable. We bring our spirit in front of us. Our intentions, our souls are out in front of us. And you wonder why you feel so comfortable with some people. And you feel kind of queasy or uncomfortable or uncertain with others. Those are your signals. Those are your signals. So I'd say those were probably some of the pivotal points. And I had a professor once, I'll tell you this story, at university in philosophy. And I thought he hated me. He was brilliant. I loved his lectures. But I would want to banter with him. You know, every student gets a little inquisitive. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to banter with him. And I'm going, by this guy. He just hates me. And I aced his course, so he didn't take it out on me. Well, some years later, my classmate and teammate became the mayor of the city of Boston. And he was a great basketball player. In fact, we played together on the national championship team. The kid with polio, leading scorer, leading rebounder. Oh, you'll never walk again. Well, Ray called me up and he says, you know, they had a symposium up here in Boston where they were talking about athletes and academics. And Professor Heath was on the panel. And he said, you're not going to believe what he said. I said, what? He said, okay, how about that rough, tough guy that played for Providence? You just couldn't get the ball away from him. He would throw you up in the stands if he had to get the job done. And he said, what would you think, looking at his physicality, what would you think about the quality of his mind? If you're honest, you'd probably say just another brute athlete. He said, what if I told you that was the keenest philosophical mind I ever taught? I had to go to his grave sometime later and ask for forgiveness. Some of the greatest teachers we've had have been the toughest people to deal with. And we end up not liking them because we don't want to get rid of our own crap. So we'll hang on to our own garbage rather than listen to somebody who will confront you from love. See, we don't know what love is. We think love, for the most part, until we wake up, is agreement. No, true love is honesty. It's being there to say what needs to be said from the foundation of love. Your ground of being, this is what I call it. Your ground of being is I love. And I want the manifestation of that even when I'm upset with you. I want to be upset with you through the foundation of love. So that was another experience.
Well, one of the things that jumps out for me there, especially on the quote, in terms of, act like it's impossible to fail and you won't. Yeah. I mean, that we talk about the unity of the heart and the mind together and giving that signal. And, one of the phrases that I remember you taught me way back, one of the first things that really impacted me as a young 18-year-old was tentative is no power.
Absolutely, it's a lie.
And that stuck with me so much because so many people are tentative. Why do you think so many people are so tentative, Joe?
Oh, it's real easy. There are emotions that they have chosen through their development and into adulthood that are so painful for them to experience, they'll do anything to avoid them. So we are masters at avoiding unpleasant emotions. And it comes from our self-images. Just think back. Okay, I did a ton of work on self-image. Your self-image describes the limits of your possibilities in life. It is a manifestation of the deepest thoughts you have of yourself. So if you think, like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. There's no truer words. Because when you are tentative, you are giving out a vibration of weakness. I tell salespeople, don't try to sell something you don't damn well believe in because you're a fraud. And people will pick up on that. The greatest salespeople I know are honest people, believe me. They're the richest, the ones that are honest with people. They figure whatever they got, they believe in it strongly enough through direct and personal experience to stand up and say, this is good. So if you look at all the emotions you're trying to avoid, okay, let's take an example of how we get tagged with our self-image. All right, from the time you and I are born, we, as little children, everything bigger than us is God. Uncles, aunts, older brothers, sisters, mom, dad, grandparents. And what do we want? We're little creatures running around to try to see how we fit into this new experience called life. And we're searching for a little affection and love. And guess what comes out of that? We become master manipulators. Our whole life is about domination, control. We want to control everything, but we have no language or no way to do it. So how do we do it? We do it just like we do as adults. We use mood. How many of you know you use mood to get what you want? No, anything wrong, honey? Nope. Who are you kidding? There's something wrong. You want to talk about it? Nope. Are you sure there's nothing wrong? No, there's nothing wrong. Sure, I'm sure of that. So we try to avoid it. So let me give you an example. You're a kid, we'll make Billy be the kid in grammar school, okay? And he's in the 6th grade. And the teacher asked Billy, where is Egypt? And Billy says, on page 52, teacher. The whole class roars, laughing. He gave the right answer. You understand? It was on page 52. So the contextual understanding, he didn't have it. So he gave her to what page it was on. The class roared. Guess what Billy became for the rest of his life? The class clown. He was the one drinking all the beer at the parties. He was the one carrying on all the time. He was the one, when he walked in the room, everybody laughed before he opened his mouth. He had his Shakespearean role to play. Give you another one. 2 sisters. One is a singer. very, very good singer. The other one is equally as passionate, the younger sister, to be a singer. And the mother says to the younger one, when she's trying to sing, your sister's the singer. Would you please be quiet? Guess what that did to that gal? You see? So I used to go one-on-one with people to walk them through all of those episodes and give them a place to put it. Okay? And then I'd have to take them out of their past history and say, see, you're going to be forever not complete because you think that defines you. You allowed someone else's opinion to define you. Shame on you. Don't blame them. Blame you. Now that you know better, do you want to get rid of it? I never had one person say no. They all want to get past it. Well, guess what? There's only one way past it, and they didn't like this one either when it started. I said, the first thing you need to do is forgive yourself. Look in your past and wipe it clean. Just forgive yourself. You want to know why? Because the rest of your life, don't you ever say to anybody you forgive them if you don't have the gift to give. Whoa. When you forgive yourself, you freed yourself with a new slate. Now you can just walk out and be. You can be. And I'm going to tell you something. You will stop. You're drinking the poison, hoping the other person would die when you're angry and bitter and unresentful and unforgiving. And I used to tell people, you don't need to meet the person face to face or even talk to them to forgive them. That's not necessary. In your heart, let it go. Just let it go and then move on. You wouldn't believe the differences I saw in people as they come to another session of the seminar and another session. It was like I was watching the rebirth of human beings because they got rid of their hatred and their bitterness before their parents are responsible. My drunk husband, the one, we can have all those excuses, and guess what? All they are is episodes. We don't know which one we're going to get dealt. We were that smart, we'd all be happy and rich and wouldn't give a damn about personal development. We would have arrived. We don't work that way. So the key that I teach, the key to wealth and happiness is mastery of your mind and emotions. People don't realize the power of human thought. You know, when I was teaching years ago, I kept thinking about thought. And I kept saying, there's not a thought that's ever been thought in the universe that's not still within this universe. Anything that happens in this universe can't escape. It's here. And I'm thinking to myself, how about human thought? Why is it that negative thinking attracts more negative thinking? And why is it that positive thinking attracts more positive thinking? I took it at the base level. Then I realized I started to meditate on that, and I viewed thought as a vibration, because it is. And so you have a thought, the nature of which creates the ether where it resides. So base thoughts, evil thoughts, negative thoughts have only so much power, and they stop in the universe. Just picture this as a possible explanation. And then
I can see it there. Yeah, I can see it here. So
okay. And so you think a thought and it's negative, and it leaves your brain, and then it's going up and it's landing somewhere in the ether, but it's on a fixed location. It can't go above its nature, and it certainly stays within that realm. Well, what's your circuitry of thought when you're thinking that? This is how easy it is to feed it, because you're living there spiritually and emotionally. That's why negative keeps getting more negative. Well, how do you break that? You need some enlightenment. You need some coaching. You need somebody to tell you, don't you see the results? Now, here's what's interesting. When they start to grow and their thinking and their understanding gets higher, their thought vibration is at another level. So that person, when it's seeking wisdom or seeking advice, their thought process is at a higher level. So the circuitry feedback is of a similar nature. Go further. Go further. You'll end up here with the prophets at some point, because the purity of intent and the nature of the thought is dictating the circuitry that comes back to you. Once you catch on to that, The next thing you know is my thoughts are what's creating my reality. Nothing else. There's nothing real out there except what you think. You create the universe. No two people, I'll tell audiences of 20, 25,000 people, no two of you in this room have the same reality. It's impossible, even though you think you do. It's impossible. Because you are an aggregate of everything that ever happened to you from the time of birth to the moment you're perceiving the present. Now, how many of you have the exact same running track with the exact same impulses of mind and spirit? None. But yet, when you have a present observation in thought, it's going in nanoseconds to every one of those things you've had. So if you don't clean them up, or you can have a better screening device where you can kind of focus it the way you want it to go, you'll be all over the place. Then here's people that can't let go. If you follow most people who have problems, they are living the past. Listen closely. We've all done it. I've done it. You've all done it if you want to tell the truth. We relive the past of the mistakes we know we've made, with the people we know we've hurt. We relive it with themes. What if I had done this? What if I had done that? Maybe I should have done this. I say, you didn't do a damn thing like that. You did what you did. Now let's get on with it. So you did what you did, because if you don't, I'm going to tell you what your life is going to be like. You are going to have an awful lot of depression, because you're going to keep going backwards to try to solve problems that they just happened. Yeah, you could be at fault. You could be, what difference does it make? You're in the present moment. How do you want to go from this point forward? That's all life is, isn't it? We can't stay stagnant. We're moving forward, we're stuck in neutral, or we're going backwards. That's life. Once we accept it, wow. So now we have a thought. The thought provokes an emotion or a feeling. The combination of those two create the choices of behavior that follow. Over time, those choices become habitual. And at the end of that, right there is your life. The circumstances of your life has been built just like that. So if I want to change the end, I go to Dr. William James, the father of American psychology. At the end of his life, he was asked, what's the greatest insight of your generation? You know what he said? Listen closely. That a human being can alter the circumstances of their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. Attitudes of mind. Is that not our thinking? So we can clean that up. We can clean it up. Now I'm going to tell you the most powerful word that I've ever discovered. Most people think it's the weakest. It's called surrender. Surrender. When I have something, I teach people when they're afraid to do this, or afraid to do that, or afraid to do this, or they're afraid of being judged, okay? I say, well, you're controlled. What you need to do is stop resisting those feelings. Just let them be okay until you dissipate the power of them. Let it be okay you feel stupid before you get up to speak. But just kind of laugh at it and say, well, today I feel kind of stupid, but I'm going out there anyway. Wouldn't that be fun? Instead, I can't do it. I can't do it. Why? Because I can't stand the emotions of being judged. Feeling incompetent, insufficient, not good enough, stupid. That's why we hide. Why don't we tell the truth? Oh boy, we're good at it, huh? I remember at one time I was given a talk on public speaking, and I may have had 600 or 700 people. It was probably one of my all-day things, and I said to the audience, I want to come out here and I want to pick somebody out of the audience that's, just pick somebody. I'm going to bring you up on stage and I'm going to work with you and we'll get the job done. So I'd like you to allow me to pick the person. Well, I knew what was going to happen. I should have had a film. The minute I started to step off the stage, I never saw so many people have to go to the toilet. Why? Don't pick me. Don't pick me. Huh? Isn't that it? Whatever you're afraid of owns you. Owns you. So it's all emotional, isn't it? Just think of the crap that stops us. But if I surrender, okay, if I got something here, for example, how about yourself? All right, we're good at this. And women, I got to say, you're a little better than men are, because we put you under more pressure to have to be beautiful and pretty. And, you know, we can look like slobs and somehow we can get away with it. But women, culturally, we put them under the pressure. But here's what happens. If you have an imperfection, okay, anywhere in your body, on your face, on your, anywhere, every time you are nude in front of the mirror, your attention goes right to it, wishing it weren't there, hoping it would never be there. And guess what? Who cares? It's there. Whoever's going to love you is going to go, what's that? Oh, no. And guys, you're the same way, too. You're just not at the deeper level because you're not put under the microscope like the women are. You know it. You think you're losing your hair. Don't you go a little nuts? Right? So you don't need to do that. So once you know that you can be in control, not having to have control, that is beautiful stuff. Did you hear it? You can be in control without having to have control because you're surrendered. I don't like it. Here's what I did every time. When I don't like something, I give it life. Because I'm emotionally and spiritually attached to not liking it. So it's with me all the time. When I say, oh, why don't you become the emotional wind with that, whatever that is. Here it comes. I don't like rejection. Never have liked rejection. But guess what, rejection? You got the last piece of my hiney you're ever going to get. Come at it. I am the wind. Goodbye. That's power. And you won't find that. When I was studying all the psychology and stuff, I used to get so ticked off because what I found out is that highly intelligent people of the sciences, they sing in hexadecimal in the shower for each other. They create languages that are archaic for the average person to understand. So we get intimidated. Okay, we get intimidated. I just wanted to be a damn translator. Is this what you're trying to say? Then why don't you just say, well, they may not come back for another session, huh? So anyway, where are we now?
Yeah, it's funny what one of the Master Circle members, Kurt, he calls it job security words. They have to come up with long-sounding words because it gives them job security.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've always loved about George is his ability to translate the complex into something that's understanding. And that's one of the gifts that I really try to hone and take on. And one of the things you probably see in my work is that, you know, we try to take these conceptual ideas, people try to profit from making complex. Yeah, and by making them complex, they feel they can charge more for them or they can appear more intelligent. But that does nothing for the students that are desperately seeking to be able to try to add value in their day-to-day life. You know, what does it mean when I get up in the morning, and how do I put one foot in front of the other and affect me at that level? So your ability to simplify things has always had a big impact on me, especially when it comes down to things like goals and intent. You know, what can you share with us around things like goals?
Your unconscious needs instruction. It's a very good servant. It really is. But it needs to know what you want, and it needs to know that you're serious about it. So you can't hit a target you have not declared. So when you set your goals, you need to have pure intent. And the worst goal I think you can set and stay sane is I want to make a lot of money. As far as I see this world, every mystery I watch, every crime program I study, everything's about money, 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 money. The things that human beings will do to get their hands on money is tragic. So I tell people, don't chase money. Why don't you become really good at something? And money will follow you. When I first started doing this work, I couldn't draw flies. You want to know why? Imagine 50 years ago, me teaching this. Was there any listening anywhere? Everything was the hustle. Sell them anything, get them across the line, con them. I have companies that today I wouldn't go near. I don't care what they would offer me because they're not the right kind of company with the people. They just want you to go in and get their people riled so they can use them. You know, get the next speaker. It isn't going to be me. So don't compromise your values. Your champion in life is your integrity and your character. Don't sell it cheap, because it's hard to rebuild once you crash it. Be a person of your word. When you put your hand across the table, win or lose, you're in. And when people know you as that, they will follow you. I built huge organizations because I built loyalty two ways. I earned it by the way I served the people and was there for them. Not as the doormat. They know that wasting their time, they want to talk to me about complaining and moaning and groaning, and they haven't put in the corrections themselves and what they need to do. But I'll work all day and all night with somebody who wants to.
Beautiful. And one of the things that I love about, again, the reframing when it comes to money, most people, because they conceptualize money as a thing rather than understand it's a byproduct or a consequence of adding value, they go chasing their shadow.
Yeah.
And I say, there's a huge fundamental difference between saying, I want to earn $1 million versus having the self-talk or the narrative that says, I want to attract an opportunity that allows me to add $1 million worth of value. And the two energetic connections to those statements are night and day. One of them will serve you for the rest of your life. The other, as you say, will have you chasing your tail. And one of the areas I see a lot of people compromise their values on the fastest, obviously, is money. And I took a look at that as well. And one of the things that I noticed was that in a society where people, or the media and society itself, have conditioned the self-worth to be tied to their net worth. And if somebody's net worth is threatened, and it triggers the fear that their self-worth will be lowered, and therefore they kick back and compromise their values. And how do you insulate yourself against that? How do you really have a sense of understanding that I am not my bank account?
Well, that's a personal thing. I mean, you can talk about it to people and they'll go like this, like they understand, but when putting it into practice requires real moral character. I wrote a chapter, I don't know if it's in my book or not, about the power of living life with integrity, but I define it for you. I said, we live in a world where situational ethics have taken over. So it's okay as long as I win. And the old Machiavelli question, does the end justify the means, or does the means justify the end? And I was always taught that the moral way to see that is you better have the means of what you're going after be as moral as the end you're going after. I can live with that. Because outside of that, it gives me license to what? Lie, cheat, steal, take advantage of people. That doesn't bring peace to people. That doesn't bring peace. Really all we want is to feel pretty good, have love in our lives. And, we're pretty simple, but we get caught up in we need this, we need that. I got all the toys anybody could imagine. Anybody who knows me knows I quite frankly, don't give a damn. If everything I have was gone tomorrow, it wouldn't affect me. It really wouldn't. I've been rich and poor 2 or 3 times in my life already, so I already know. I know how to get back up and eat hot dogs and beans. In fact, I kind of like them better than a lot of food I eat. So never let your stuff define you. Never chase the stuff that you think will define you. It'll never satisfy you. Become a star in your spirit. Become a star in your work. You really want to help people? You're the lights that the world needs. There aren't that many left, but it doesn't need that many to make such a huge difference. I have found that out over the years.
Yeah, well, one of the things that really impacted me in the last couple of days, I've been very blessed. George invited me onto his boat the last couple of days. We've had a good time, and I've been doing a lot of things, and I'm always there trying to pick his brain. And one of the statements really hit me like a truck. We hear a lot of people talk about, go and chase your passion. And the challenge with that is, passion can be very sort of temperamental or linked to the emotional state that we're in. And George reframed it immediately. He says, don't chase your passion, chase your potential. And I felt that was an incredible distinction around not getting drawn off into something that sells us into navigating life by avoiding emotions we don't want to include because, I'm not passionate about that, when it's where our potential lies in being able to uncover some of our greatness.
Well, you make a good point there. If you chase a passion, first of all, you don't even know what it is. You guess, you think you want to be this, and then I'm going to chase this, man. I'm going to get this done. But life unfolds and takes you down many little subhighways and side streets and stop signs and caution signs. And along the way, if all you saw was what you thought was your passion, you might miss out on what really you should be doing. So always leave yourself open that finding whatever it is you should be doing will unfold to you from the nature of your mind, the nature of your thoughts, and the intent of your heart. People come to me and they say, George, you know, I don't have much luck in relationships and this and that, and I'm going to join this, I'm going to join that. I says, why don't you just become love and you'll find it? There's such a shortage of it, authentic. Why don't you just work on you becoming a very, very great, loving, nice person? And I guarantee you, you're going to find somebody just like that. But if you're out there searching like a Geiger counter, you're going to be a victim because you won't even know how to discern reality from fake. Oh, okay. Oh.
And some people can confuse that occasionally, you know, going out being a loving person through the martyr pattern. So, yeah. Oh, well, if I'm then just really nice to everybody, you know, and I can kind of manipulate the rules that way, then I'll attract somebody. And of course, that isn't the spirit or the integrity of what's behind that.
No, not at all. No, that to me is really a weak person who has to be nice all the time. No matter what's going on, they just don't know how to confront anything. Oh, I can't say that. Oh, that would be impolite. Oh no, let them kill themselves while you're being polite. You're committed to your own self-image, not to their well-being. So get out of my way.
One of the most powerful stories I think you ever shared, and that was the piano player in New York.
Oh yes, yeah. This a woman was a terrific pianist, and she was playing in Carnegie, and her best friend came to hear her, and that night they went out for dinner and got together, and her friend said, I would give anything to play that piano like you. And the piano player said, oh no, you wouldn't. And her girlfriend got kind of mad at her. What do you mean I wouldn't? You're not the kind of person that could ever put in the time, the dedication, and the get to this. Boy, her friend didn't like her. How dare you say that to me? But it was the truth. Everybody wants to be great when they see it, but they don't want to hear how somebody got there. What do they do to get there? We look at the end, want to jump in the shoes of the person at the end, not knowing the travels that they've taken to get there. Life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And success is a marathon. It's not a sprint. I have all kinds of people come up, you know, and you talk to me about my business strategy. And I listen to them and I say, well, I'll tell you where you're at. You're at the far end where you should be at the front end. What do you mean? I'm going to give you 3 words. Be, do, have. Be is become your skill. Spend your time now, study, research, know what you're doing. Then do, test, do with your knowledge, what you've been taught. And guess what? Have is at the end. You don't get there unless you do the first 2 or you won't last. Oh. Everybody wants a shortcut, huh? Give me a shortcut. How can I get there fast? Why don't you just take your time and do it right and stay there for a while?
Yeah. And a lot of people, again, they're trying to get to the have because they think that when they arrive at the have, they'll have been able to bunny hop all of the emotional insecurities, the inclusion of the stuff they're trying to avoid, the lack of growth that they require. It's like trying to go to the gym and want the muscles without lifting the weights. And that's something that, you know, isn't part of why we're here. You know, I believe that we're, you know, when people make the distinction that life is a growth-centric experience, and they have a context for understanding that, well, if we're in the gym of life, maybe I've got to lift the weights because I want to win the marathon. And you don't get the medal through, you know, staring at the weights.
Yeah, you got that right.
What can you share about some of the aspects of, especially around commitment? Commitment is something that so many people I see either sell out on too short, think it's temporary, have a relationship with that isn't functional, yet it has to be one of the most, you know, fundamental underpinnings of life in the earth, Jim.
Well, commitment is doing the thing you said you would do long after the mood you set it in has left you. And now you have to look.
Say that again. Just say that again. If you're not
Commitment.
writing that down, guys, tattoo that on your eyelids.
Commitment is doing the thing you said you would do long after the mood you set it in has left you. Now I'm going to tie that right into motivation. Motivation, as most people understand it, is an illusion. Motivation does not work the way we think it does. I used to love to compete in sports with people that were all pumped up in the beginning, and the first time you gave them a good whack, they withered. They weren't motivated. Motivation is having the discipline to understand you're never going to stay motivated. Did you hear that? To understand you're never going to stay motivated. Why? It's an emotion. It can't sustain. You're going to get disappointed. You're going to feel alone. You're going to feel betrayed. How do you maintain motivation if you're waiting to feel good? See how it's tied to commitment? I know that motivation, I am so happy when it shows up. I almost expect it as a strange guest. Because I know that discipline of action and commitment and intent will get me there. But if I'm waiting to be pumped up, that balloon will go down real fast. Just as fast as it went up, it'll go down. And then you have, well, I just don't feel motivated anymore. Well, guess what? You never were motivated. You were expecting to keep that accelerated feeling in the moment to sustain? Whoever taught you that? Your high school coach? It don't work. There's another reality check. So once I know that's the nature of motivation, I'm okay with it. You want to know why? Surrender. If that's the way it is, I can deal with it. Hear the word again? Surrender. I understand motivation. But I also know you can't persist. You can't persist without commitment. And you can't persist without motivation as I'm describing it. Now, I'll give you a payoff, though. You've all done this. Simple lessons teach us profound insights. You may have had a closet in your house, a dresser, something that you just know it's been a mess, your garage. Come on, guys. You know, that place that is a mess, and you walk by it every day. And what you don't realize is that a spark of your energy spiritually and emotionally and mentally just dropped in for a visit. Just dropped in for a visit. But you'll go past that because your mind says, oh my God, oh, if I open that door, everything will fall out on me. Whatever it is, open it. Oh, I got to sort through that. So you avoid. One day you say, that's it. I'm going to get in there and do it. Here's the most amazing thing. You were not motivated when you started. As you started getting the job done, you were elated. And when you got to the end, you probably said, what in the hell was I so resistant about doing this? I was sucked into this closet every time I walked by it for a year. So you got the feeling you were looking for in the throes of doing what you should be doing. It didn't precede it. It showed up while you were doing it. Those are the little golden nuggets. Once you spot them, you say, oh, I see how it works now. I see how it works now.
Emerson. Do the thing.
Do the thing and you shall have power. Sweet are the uses of adversity, like the toad, evil and venomous on his mind, but yet wears a precious jewel on its head. Shakespeare talking about adversity, problem, struggle. Much rain wears the marble. What's that about? Some of the greatest thinkers in history have given us such wonderful little nuggets. Socrates, this is a universe that does not favor the timid. Because we know that timid is a cover-up. It's an avoidance of emotions we don't want to feel. Once you get it's okay to feel those emotions, but it's no longer okay to let them stop you. That's an insight worth hanging on to.
What can you share with us, George, about the nature of time? Because I know that most people, if there's two things they stress about the most, it's usually money and time. And we've covered the aspect of money. Well, what can you share with regards to time? Because I think that's where most people feel so much pressure, not just to try to look good or to get to a finish line, but this perception of time compression or time stress that, it's one of the biggest excuses, quote, that I hear is, oh, if only I had more time.
Yeah.
Now, what can you share with us on that?
Well, there's a number of angles that come at that. There's kind of recipes feeding into the way we understand time and use time. And one of the things is that I use the expression or to explain time as a series of light bulbs. Remember the other night we were talking on the back of the boat, and I said, Peter, I want you to imagine up here, there's light bulbs, one right next to each other, and you see how far out the water, we can't see the end of that string of light bulbs. All we know that they're out there, there is an end. All I know is right now, every time I look up, another light bulb's going off. It's shutting down. That's my life. That's my life. That's my life. You have to learn how to live life in the now. So, you people, get close to it. All you have, if you wake up tomorrow morning, is another now to make your life happen. You need a healthy respect, not a paranoia about it, but a healthy respect for how you use your time. Because time is the only asset you have to get you where you eventually want to go. Time. Time. The moving finger writes and heaven written moves on. Not all our piety nor wit shall bring it back to cancel half a line. Not all our tears wash out a word of it. In ourselves, not in the shouts and plaudits of the throng, but in ourselves lies victory or defeat. The Rubaiyat.
Beautiful. And I think on that note, we've taken a lot of George's time here today, guys. Has that been really good for you? Has that been, learned some useful stuff in there? Give him a thumbs up, and again, George, 50 years in teaching this, and we're just really getting to the point now where people are waking up to a lot of the level of the insight and emotion. But imagine being the leading edge 50 years ago in trying to bring this to the world from a place of caring and wanting to make a difference. That's the shoulders of the giants we stand on. And here we are being able to take and assimilate some of that information, not only to affect our lives, but I know, because I know the nature of the people on this call, is we're looking to affect our lives so that we can affect others in a more positive way. And that's why I wanted to bring George to the table here, because we are the legacy of not only our own history, but of the people that we're gracious enough to be able to learn from. And I've learned so much from this man, and I'm just so grateful that he took the time out in his 80th year, by the way. And if you ever want an example of overcoming adversity, if you ever want an example, I mean, did you catch it, by the way? Kid born with polio, told he would never walk, plays in the 1961 basketball championship in Providence. I mean, where do you go with that? Yeah, it's just, it's a stunning example of somebody who walks his talk, and that's what I've always admired about George. He won't let you off the hook. Most people would rather be liked than be honest. And that's one of the things that I really got slapped with George in the early days, because you can't hide from him. Yeah, and it's not because he's there to try to beat you up because he gets satisfaction out of it. He's there to hold up a mirror to be able to show you the parts of yourself you're not willing to confront. And having the courage to be able to do that is the first step towards personal mastery. And that's where, again, most people will run off because they'd rather spend time with people that look and placate them in areas where they can feel good already, rather than actually work on what really matters to make a difference by uncovering the disowned parts that they have, or the shadow self, or stuff that they don't want to clean up. And I think one of the best quotes we've had today here, George, was that you suddenly realized that life started working and you were able to forgive people in direct proportion to the way that you cleaned up yourself.
Absolutely.
Because that's where it starts.
I just have a couple of more things that I want to leave you with. I kind of said I'm going to say at the end where I feel I'm at 80 years old. Okay, then down the road. There's one thing that is finally emerging as the answer. I have watched the theologians, the philosophers, the scientists, the neurologists, the psychiatrists, all the biologists, the metaphysicians. Over the years, there is now a convergence of all these disciplines are coming to one understanding. And at the end of that understanding is one word. We're here. Do you want to know what our purpose is? Love. So we're on the right track. We're trying to be good people. The end game is love. This whole experience. So who you are, you can take it or leave it. You are a spirit being running around with a corporeal body for a linear period of time called earth life. You can't kill spirit. The moment you were born, you took a spark of divinity or you don't have a spirit. And you can't kill that. So you're already connected to whatever you want to call universal consciousness, God, whatever it is for you. I want you to know, if you have a doubt, that's what I tell people to come to me and say, prove it. I say, no, you can prove it to yourself. What do you want me to do? I want you to walk into a garden and I want you to pick a flower. And I want you to stare into the flower. And I want you to notice the wonderful array, the artistry, the beautiful colors and the patterns. And that's there for you and it's there for me. You know what? There's an architect. And there's a way to get there. It's been said, knock and it shall be opened. Seek and you shall find. And that's my message.
Beautiful. Guys, just show him some love. And thank you, George. We so much appreciate you being here. It's an honor for me to be able to spend some time here. And again, in some little way to be able to pass on that spark that you've given me to the people here, for allow them to be able to pass on to the people in their lives and so on. So,
well, the privilege is mine to be able to take people that I know you're working with. That already tells me all about all of you. Okay? You're wonderful people trying to make a difference. So if this helps a little, to you.
Beautiful. Guys, thank you. Big love and for tuning in, and guests for the EMF as well. Thank you guys, and enjoy your community call tomorrow. MC, we'll touch base shortly, and again, just want to say a huge thanks on behalf of George and myself for you guys showing up, and for really now understanding that, as I've said, knowing and not doing is the same as not knowing. Pick one thing that jumped out of you over this last hour, the most impactful thing, the one that shifted you, not the one you thought, oh yeah, that makes sense. No, the one that made you go, whoa, okay, I needed to hear that, and go apply that in your life. Go make that your intention this week, to really allow that to express itself. Surrender to whatever the resistance is. Know that you're immortal. Go give the gift of who you are, and ultimately be loved. I love you guys. You said.